Hello, and welcome to the Comedy Wine List podcast, where we get to know comedians and wine one glass at a time. It's me, Steph, wine industry qualified nerd and comedian. Today's comedian is Luke Craig with a French Malbec from a place called Cahors. We filmed and recorded today's episode at Humble Grape in Canary Wharf, a beautiful waterfront wine bar and restaurant with refreshing to bolder wines to suit all types of chat. Luke performs at some big comedy clubs in London. He's won King Gong at the Comedy Store, as well as being an amazing MC and comic at South Kensington Comedy Club. Malbec is such a well-known red wine. It's one of the nation's favourites, but it's still bold and energetic. I hope you get a sense of what French Malbec is like through this chat with Luke Craig. Now you can talk to me, because I was basically like, hold all of the catch-up, because otherwise it won't be organic. And I'll be like, no, I heard about this 5 minutes ago. Why are you telling me old news? What have you been up to?
I've just been
a big statement.
I've just been gigging.
You have, haven't you?
As much as I can and failing and pushing the boundaries as much as I can.
I saw a clip of you recently at Vauxhall Comedy laying into some guy called Archie.
Yeah, Archibald.
That was funny.
Archibald, yes, because you know what, he was like, you know that whole audience that night, most of them went to private school.
What?
Yeah,
that would have been my audience.
Yeah.
Hello, Archie.
Hello. We've met before, haven't we? On our reunion.
Your brother at school. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a good show, and I don't know. I'm really enjoying the low stakes where you're allowed to fail, and that you get the most out of it. I've done some other gigs that, like, you know, the high status ones that feel alright, but they don't feel as good as when I've come away with something new that I've written that day and I've tried out. Like the other day I went back to Vauxhall and I done, like, basically my whole set was just new stuff, and why it didn't, it was a good show, but it was just I've got a little bits I can work on now later on.
That's so much more exciting. Like when you've got something new and it's kind of working and you're like excited to tell it, people can really see that.
Yeah.
Whereas so much of my stuff, especially when I was MCing, was just like jokes that I've been doing for 2 years.
And it gets it gets stale, doesn't it? It gets boring.
Yeah.
It's just like you're reciting, you don't know why you're saying this anymore. But when you've got new bits that you want to, and you get that laughter of, like, I thought of this and now they're laughing at it. And it feels good, man. That's the best feeling.
Oh, just that, like, organic, actually wrote that story that day, and you're not expecting anything for it.
Yeah. You're not. Is there something funny in this? And there's something funny, and then they laugh and you're like, this is what it's about.
I love it. Well, okay, cool. So today I've brought you here to chat comedy, but also to pair your comedy voice with a wine. Even though you don't drink.
Yeah, okay.
We're stating that up front.
Yeah, I don't drink, people.
If you absolutely hate it, you'll be spitting it out, or we'll spit it out anyway.
Yeah.
Have you ever drunk red wine before in your life?
I probably have tasted red wine.
And didn't like it, probably.
Yeah. I don't like alcohol. It doesn't.
Fair.
The only time I really ever drank was on holiday.
Yeah.
I don't really drink over here, and I think alcohol tastes. Do you actually like the taste? Do you actually?
I do. I wonder.
I do, and the effect of it, of course.
It's not a wine podcast. No, I hate it, Luke. I hate it. It's dreadful.
Why don't I just do this? So it's okay. I just can't. It's not for me. I don't know. When people talk about it, I'm just like, I don't know.
I get you. I think it's something that, like, grows on you over time, and, like, if you understand
the posh stuff coming out now.
It's an
acquired taste. It's an acquired taste, I'm saying. Yeah.
You are the worst for that, because you'll always do that as an MC. You'll be like, Archibald, hello.
Yeah, it's funny though. It's funny.
How do you get away with it? How do you get away with it?
You know what? A lot of people say that. That's what people have been saying, that I am likeable on stage. And it's just fun teasing people about their privilege. Do you know what I mean?
That's another reason why I paired you with this style, because this is a Malbec from Cahors, which is in France. And Malbec is one of the UK's most favourite red wines.
Okay.
So I was like, well, Luke, everyone loves Luke.
Okay,
my mum's favourite wine is a Malbec. My mum would love Luke, so he's got to be my Malbec for this series.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad I'm everyone's favourite. I'm glad.
You are. You really are. Okay, so we're going to open this lovely bottle.
Okay.
Did you find your way here okay? Because we're in a place called Humble Grape right now, which is a nice little wine bar in Canary Wharf.
Okay, do you know what? I've come here before.
Yeah.
Have you? And I drove here, and they tested my van for explosives.
What, in Canary Wharf? Not Humble Grape?
No, not Humble Grape. Not Humble Grape. No. At the Canary, as you're coming in, they've got a barrier before they let people in, and they wiped around my van. So I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, just testing for explosives." And I was like, "Oh, whoa."
Can you tell me? If
Yeah. Is there danger of people bringing explosives in here?
this is going to get poured now. This is my favourite bit of the podcast because we get to pour it like in front of the microphone. Okay. And it sounds really sexy.
That's it.
Look at that.
It looks wonderful.
How much do you want?
Give me enough. You're the lead here. Let me know. All right.
A nice amount. So what do you think about that? So like in wine tasting, we've got to look at it first, and then we smell it, and then we taste it.
So we look at it. What are we looking for when we look? So you do little. I feel posh now.
You can do. Ooh. I can teach you how to swirl. The glasses are nice and big, so nothing's going to spill out. But yeah, we're looking at the colour. We're trying to assess how far through the liquid we can see, because often that will give you like a hint at what it might taste like. It's quite a lovely inky colour, this one. I've
never known that. So you look to how far in to the wine you can see.
That's why I bought a white microphone, because then I can see through it a little bit better.
Okay.
I know, there was a whole process. I was like, I could get a blue one. No, it's going to be this.
All right. So this one is quite dark in the centre. Is that what we're talking about here? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah?
I like that.
I want to make sure I'm not saying the wrong thing here. Yeah. So it's like, okay. Right.
I always let like the comic lead, because you guys are the wine drinkers. I'm the weird one who's like done qualifications and stuff.
Oh, really? Have you? What you done?
Just pimping myself.
Yeah. I just done qualification.
Ask me about the qualification.
I'm qualified, thank you very much. A professional. Okay.
I need some clout to be able to run this podcast. Like.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking
quite a lot. Like it's a really like a nice almost blue hint to it. It's a very dark wine, isn't it? They actually call this the black wine of Cahors.
Okay, and then you've got a black comedian in here. The black wine for the black comedian. Okay, all right, okay.
I 100% knew you were going to nail me on that.
I paid very well. I paid very well this wine. Yes. Okay. Oh, the black wine. I know who's going to do that one. Okay.
I'm out. There's literally nothing I can say now. It's from the southwest of France. You're a Londoner, aren't you? Born and raised. Where were you born and raised in London?
Croydon. Well, originally I was from Upper Norwood, Crystal Palace.
That's where I live.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you know?
Don't stalk me if you want.
I don't really live there. So my first ever flat
That's
up there.
the nicest view. On that road.
Do you know what that
beautiful tree?
You from that flat you could see. The view was
from my house. You can as well.
Yeah,
it's just I love it so much.
I like the way you said that. From my house.
From my parents' house.
We lived in a house, not a flat. We lived in a house. Thank you very much. Yeah, but yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
oh my god, how am I going to be able to control you for an hour?
No one can.
Not a chance.
But yeah, no, it was nice. Crystal, and then I moved to Croydon at about 4 or 5 years old.
Okay, so a different landscape. Croydon is in southeast, isn't it?
South. Well, do you know what? Croydon is a very weird area. It's actually a London borough, but it's under Surrey, which is weird.
Ooh,
so it's South London. Whenever crime happens there, the news calls it South London, all right? And then when anything good happens, it's Surrey. Yeah, so that's, I don't know how they
this is one of the reasons you're a red wine, because you do cover crime in your material,
of course.
So like the reason you're not a white wine is like white wine is everyday, maybe relationship, like light-hearted stuff. Your topics are actually quite heavy, but your stance is really silly or like. Yeah, I tried to make it. Yeah, they are. Yeah, about because I've talked. Can I talk about all the things? Yeah, everything.
Yeah. So I talk about me like being stabbed. I talk about the fact that I don't ever want to be a father, and I realised that after I had my third child. So the things like that, everyday
stuff.
Yeah, everyday stuff. Yeah. Your children not liking children.
Getting
even though I've got it is. Well, that you know what, that is my life and how I've lived, and it's normalised. Like some things that people will never experience. It's like wow, but I grew up in it, so kind of got a different perspective to most people. So I think
that's why it makes you so like kind of a unique voice, because not every comedian's out there saying I got stabbed. Like, I don't get to see that a lot.
Yeah, I should have really been a rapper. I should have been a rapper.
Shit.
Yeah, but I would have
awesome.
I'd have been lost with all the other people. Do you know what I mean? But in comedy, I've got my own lane. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah.
coming back to the wine as well, in the wine world, it's quite rare to have a 100% Malbec in France. Normally it's mixed with other things. So this is quite a unique wine style, and you're quite a unique comedian on the circuit.
So what do you usually have it mixed with?
So in France, they mix Malbecs with a lot of Merlot or Tannat, or sometimes like in Bordeaux, you get like the Merlot Cab Sauv blends. They'll have like 5% Malbec in there. So it's a grape that's used in like loads of different blends in France. But this one, 100%.
Really?
How do you write like unique jokes when you're writing? How do you make sure they're like 100% you rather than another comic could take that joke?
I try and dig into my life as much as possible.
It's quite detailed what you do, yeah.
Yeah, and the things that how I see it. But that's really my aim. I do have some jokes that anybody could say, but I'm trying to go away from that and try and go more towards things that like my feelings and my experiences, how I see the world. That's really what I want to, the aim I want to go for, how I see the world.
Your opinion rather than what happened to you.
Right, yeah. How I've taken what's happened to me and my view on it, and it's really my view of the world. That's what I'm really trying to really find out myself. How do I think about what's happened and where I am and the events that are going on around me? Because then no one can take that from me. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hear you. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Right, let's see what we can smell. Nothing's wrong. It's all good. We're demystifying the world of wine right now.
Okay, it's got a strong aroma.
Yeah, it's a lot more savoury than I thought it would be. Kind of.
You know what? I smell. This is like.
This is you, by the way. You are this wine.
Okay, this was this. I hope I don't smell like this all the time. But
I don't know, man. It's great.
Do you know what this? Okay,
nice.
when you're experienced in things, you're able to the minute details, and I just feel like I'm just this guy that's.
But only because every time I've smelled a wine in conditions where I've been learning, people have been feeding me words. So when I smell that smell in the future, I associate the words that like have come up time and time again. You know, I've just got experience with it, just like you do with comedy. So
describe to me so I can understand. Okay,
I'll start you off.
Okay.
The first thing I get from this, and I should be talking more about the fruit, but it's got quite like a gamey, meaty sort of smell to it, to me.
Okay.
But then there's also a lot of blackberry and blueberry. So we've got the black fruits in here. So a little bit more bolder than sometimes you get in a red wine. You get those red fruits like cherry and strawberry. This has got a little bit more oomph to it.
Okay.
So when I've said all of those words, do any of them like link with you or not? Because you could say no, it just smells like red wine to me, because sometimes a lot of people do that.
Do you know, can I be honest?
Absolutely. A Malbec would be like, this is bullshit.
All right.
I don't know what you're saying.
Do you know what I feel? I feel like right now, I feel like a police officer in front of a large crowd of black people, because I'm just like, it's all the same to me, to be fair. All the same, all the same to me.
What do I do?
Like, it's all the same. Like, I don't know. When you're saying this, I can't smell any of this. It just smells like every wine I've ever smelled.
And you're the British wine drinker, even though you're not an actual wine drinker. This is how most people feel when it comes to wine. They just like the taste, and they don't need to know the ins and outs of exactly what they should be smelling on it.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah, just.
But if you smell the number of wines I've smelled in my life, you'll start seeing the pattern.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
So could you smell like 6 different wines and be able to tell? Could if you had 6 different wines, you blindfolded, and 2 of them were the same, do you think you could tell the 2 that were the same?
I don't think I could. Some people could, but they've actually done tests before where they've gone, these are 3 different wines or whatever, and 2 were the same, and even professionals couldn't tell the difference.
Okay.
They were looking for something different.
Okay.
So I hear you, and you're calling me out, because it's a lot of art involved rather than just like actual science.
Okay.
These things,
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you are right. You are right. Call it out.
I smell bullshit.
Maybe there is a little bit of farmyard. No, it's not that kind of wine. So I've described some wine notes to you. How would you describe your comedy in 3 words, if you could put you on the spot?
in 3 words, what my comedy is right now, or what I'd like it to be?
Okay, what you'd like it to be comes later when we talk about the aging of the wine.
All right. What it is right now is silly, exaggerated, and truthful.
Okay, I like that. So Malbec is quite a full-bodied wine, and when you said exaggerated, I think that's how I've paired you with this like kind of style, because there is a lot of emotion that comes out when you're on stage, and it's mostly like slight annoyance, like especially when you're talking about that child story, when your son's friend comes in and you're like that, and that's why I've paired you with this. That to me just like makes me laugh so hard because it's so you.
Yeah.
That's a really good story.
Yeah,
How did you like pull it apart and make a good joke out of it? Because it's quite a long one, isn't it?
Because you know what it is? It's just seeing the differences. That's what I'm trying to do. I feel like the level you're at with the wine and me, it's like the level that I'm at with like comedy, as in I'm starting out and I'm trying to see the world, because like comedian sees the world very differently, and we're trying to maybe, because I think one of the things I think of a great joke is when something's been in your face the whole time and you haven't seen it. When someone says it, you can't unsee it anymore. And it's like, I see the differences between, like, there's the way my children speak. My children are better spoken than me because of the area they've grown up in and things like that. And it's very, very interesting to see the other children in the area, how they conduct themselves. And it's just like, it's very different. So I'm just trying to show the differences in how things are, the things like the way I see the world and how the world actually is.
I hadn't thought of it that way. And like when you're talking about it, obviously, whenever anyone explains anything, you always like link it back to your own life. And like that's my parents really, because they came from two immigrant backgrounds. They came to London, and I'm this like well-spoken middle class lady. Your parents hate you. They parents hate you. That's what about my kids. That's what about my kids. Because kids, they look up to me though, but they hate me. At the same time. They're like, who is this person? Who is this person in our house? How did they come from me? Yeah, but they it's very, because you know what? It does feel like that. Like I was trying to have like a sensitive moment. Luke's like, nope. Your parents hate you. No, because you are proud. Because I am proud of how my children are and how they conduct themselves. But sometimes I think, you little shit. Can you swear? Yeah, you little shit. Because I'm like, they take every, like, you, because you've never lived how your parents lived, you probably don't appreciate 100%. Some of the things, you know what I mean, they've done to get you where you are. So you think everything is, this is a standard I'm used to living. So this is zero to you, when they're like, no, it goes way lower than this. Like how bad life can get. That's how I feel with my kids. My kids have got iPhones and they think that's normal. My son, one time, I took him to get his trainers looked bad. And I said, no, we're going to go to the shop. He's like, oh no, Dad, I'm not going to go to the shop today. You can go another day. I could never believe in turning my parents down, my mum down for a pair of shoes. I'd die for getting a pair of shoes, but just like the standard they live in, man. It's on their terms. That's, you can't like reverse engineer it now. That's just like their normality. Yeah, that is. I do try, and I'm trying to instill a work ethic in them. So I try and make them earn the things that they may want. That's what I'm trying to do at the moment. But would you write comedy about that, or do you? I do try. Really, like, for someone who doesn't have kids, that's interesting for me in the future. If I had kids, I'd be like, what did Luke Craig do? Oh yeah, he did this thing. Like, it's quite memorable. I do try and make sure my kids, I don't just get what they want. Like Christmas times and birthdays, I'll get them things. But when they ask them for money, there's, like, my daughter came to me the other day. She said, Dad, how can I earn some money? That was the question. She didn't ask me for some money. She said, how can I earn some money? Which I thought was quite nice. I ended up giving it to her anyway, but Daddy's little girl. Yeah, but that's it. So but it's like that's the standard I come from. No, I didn't end up giving it to her. I didn't. She had to tidy her room, and then she had to work for it. But that's what I'm trying to instill in them. You can't just get things. So you're all talk, but you got a soft heart, essentially. I do. I'll admit I'm softer with my daughter than I am with my sons. Yeah. Maybe I blame it on their age when she gets older, but it's different things. Yeah, I'm an only child and female, so I wouldn't know like if I'm treated any different. But I'm sure I would be. Okay, we can try the wine now. This is like the bit that you're dreading.
All right.
Cheers first.
Okay, cheers.
Okay. You can spit it out if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Go on. Luke's using a spittoon. This is like the first for the podcast.
Okay.
All right, now it's coated your mouth.
All right.
What are you feeling?
Can I be...
Be honest, that's what a Malbec would do.
That tastes terrible. That tastes terrible. How could you drink that for pleasure?
You know what? If you're like just starting out in your wine journey, you shouldn't be drinking a bold red wine, to be honest.
No?
That takes a while to build up. All right, if anyone actually likes wine and is watching, I really enjoy this. It's like really berry-ish, definitely blackberry. It's like a blackberry cordial without the sugar.
Okay.
That's how I would describe it. It's interesting. Well, I think it's delicious. It's like very balanced. It's nicely acidic and tannic at the same time. Do you know what this means?
No, I don't. No. But please do explain. Do explain. Go on. Acidic and the other word you said. Go on.
Tannic.
Tannic. Yes.
So wine has tannins. You know, if you've ever drunk a cup of tea, do you like tea?
I'm partial to a cup of tea. One here or there. I'm a coffee drinker myself.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you should like bold red wines, because if you've got like dark coffee going on with no milk, then that's the same thing. You're already thinking.
Back to the dark references again. No. I do. Do you know what's funny? This is another thing. I don't like the taste of. I hate coffee, but I only drink it, to keep me perked up. That's it. I just for the effects of it.
I think that's delicious. Right, I'm not crying today. I've got a weird eye. It's just like leaking. So that's good.
Well, that's just burst my bubble. I thought that was my laughter, but she was laughing at my joke. She was crying, but no, she's just got a weird eye today. Okay.
Just got a weird eye today. Okay. So this, back to the wine, Luke, which you love so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a really, really smooth Malbec. That's how I would describe you.
Okay, smooth.
Just smooth.
Okay.
How do you, when you MC, you're chatting to loads of people like you, how do you do all of that? Because you can't write a joke when you're MCing, you're sort of just chatting to them, right?
Do you know what I do? Okay, like the first half, you get them warmed up, you talk to them, have a conversation with them. I've put a little couple of jokes in there so they understand the format of the show. On the second go around, after the interval, I'll try and maybe out some new jokes there in the middle, but you've got a responsibility as an MC not to tank the show with some with a bad joke. So 100%. You have to. I try and do we call a shit sandwich. So I'll put some good jokes that I know work in the beginning, try some new material out in the middle, and then before I bring on the first act of the second half, I'll put on a joke I know will work, and then it'll be all right.
Because I've seen you MC in like the Cavendish Arms, and then at South Kensington Comedy Club as well. You did that a lot. One of my questions was, this Malbec grape grows in France and famously Argentina. You've heard of an Argentinian Malbec, right?
Yeah.
It does really well in two really different areas of the world. You do really well in both the open mic, kind of like a smaller night, that's quite intimate with like maybe 20 people, and then you do really well at places like Top Secret. How do you do well at both? Like, do you change something about your set, or do you just give it a different energy?
Do you know what? That is a great question. And you know what? You'd only get that from a comedian, because that is a really good question. Because, all right, I used to hate going into a room where sometimes there's only 3 or 4 people. Yeah, I used to love playing the big rooms where you can cram loads of people in. Well, I realised it's a different skill set. Mm-hmm. When you're doing the small rooms, you can't just go up there and rattle off your jokes. You have to connect with a person and talk to them individually and make them feel, because you just go out there and just recite your material. That works in a bigger, it's very awkward, because it just seems like you're talking at them rather than talking to them. But in the big room, you can do that. You can go out there and the laughter will carry, and it's all unison together.
It's more of a theatre thing, big rooms.
Yeah.
You're then presenting something different.
Right, but it's a different, so it's just about connecting, it's a connection. And you know what, it actually helps, because whatever room you're doing, you should really be trying to connect with people in it. But the small rooms, you're forced to do that. In the big rooms, you can kind of get lost in the crowd, so everyone, it doesn't really matter as much. But in the small rooms, you recognise as individuals in here rather than a crowd.
It is. It's weird, isn't it? I do quite a lot of small rooms now. I don't know, I don't have the confidence that I've found my voice yet. That's why this whole podcast started, because I'm getting people that I see are an authentic version of themselves on stage, and I'm like, how have you gotten your voice so nicely onto the stage that way? Because I'm like writing stuff, this kind of sounds feminist, this kind of sounds silly, and like it doesn't really piece together at the moment.
I think I'm very far away from finding my voice.
Everyone says this, and yet I'm someone who's chatting to you because I feel like you're much closer anyway.
I done a gig at Box Park, and I went up and I just done new, and I just said my opinion, what I think of certain things, and it was one of the first times.
You will state your opinion. We've learned that.
Yeah,
that's good.
No,
true to yourself.
And that's exactly what I was trying to be. I was trying to be true to myself, and they're gonna be honest. The gig didn't go as well as if I'd have done my tried and true material, but I was still getting laughs, and it felt good to say out loud some of the thoughts that maybe I wasn't comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is. It's about being as vulnerable. I'm sorry, because I'm gonna get how to go. I've got another comedian friend. I don't know if you ever met her, Katie Green, who always goes.
I love Katie.
She always goes at me. So shout out to Katie, who always says to me,
Katie, if you like wine,
you've got to be vulnerable, more vulnerable, and let people. And that's what it is. And it's scary. It's very me coming from where my background. I've seen vulnerability being used against people, so it does feel very scary sometimes, revealing how I really feel about things. But I think it makes for, like we said in the beginning, a unique experience only I can deliver.
I love that. I'm trying to be more vulnerable as well. I realise like I come across as someone who can be really open with people, but isn't quite. It's got her cards close to her chest, even though I can be like bubbly and chatty. Yeah. But what am I really chatting about? It's like silly stuff. It's not like
deep about how you. Stuff. That's what they. You've got this barrier of stuff like you're not getting all the way in here, but it feels like we're having a good conversation.
I feel like that's partly like I like giving someone a challenge, because then if they can rise to it, then that's fair enough. But what I've found with comedy is when I tackle those topics where I'm like, oh, I'm actually really revealing something about myself, like often like quite sexual stuff, I feel really you heard it here first. I feel really like vulnerable when I come off stage, and like as a woman being vulnerable in a place where there's like mainly dudes, you know, who are mainly single because it's like all comedians and stuff. That's like a really weird place to be mentally. But now I've started doing sexual stuff again in my later comedy career. I feel a lot more confident with it. So I'm like, that was actually funny. When I started doing it early in my career, I was like, oh, didn't know what to do with myself. So.
But I think that's what comedy, as you get in, we learn that we've got to fail our way forward, and we've got to, I've never known so much failure, and you have to, someone come up to me the other day and said they wanted to try comedy, but they write something down and they don't know if it's funny, and I'm like, listen mate, the only way you're going to find out is by saying it to people and seeing if it's, there's no other way around it. You're never going to write the perfect set and think everything's going to blow up. You try it, see how it goes, the response you get, and then...
When you write stuff, like when I write stuff in the day, I will record myself saying it, and if it makes me laugh, then I know there's something in it, and then I'll take it onto the stage.
Okay.
Is there any prep for you before the actual taking it to the stage part, or you're like, I need to just know if someone else finds this funny now?
What I do is I write something down, I write a thought down, and then I'll try it out. I'll just try it out. I'll just say it in a way. And if I get like a chuckle, or if I get something, I'm like, okay, there's something here. Then I'll start to work on it a bit more and try and clarify the thought. But I start with it, just the thought. Okay, what do I think about this? All right, that's happening. This may be funny. And then I'll just go up. I've got no, the position I'm in now, I've got no fear of failing or a joke not being funny. And that's the beauty right now, the position I'm in right now. That's why I'm saying
you seem so natural on stage. I think that comes from that thought.
It comes from failing and not caring about the failure. That's what it comes. Do you know what it was? I saw a comedian on stage, and he seemed so comfortable, like he didn't want to get off stage. And before that, I used to want to get up on stage and get off the stage as quickly as I can without making any mistakes. And then I changed my frame of mind to like, you know what? I want to be up here. I want to be fun. I want to be comfortable. I want to have a laugh and
enjoy myself.
Yeah, and then it changed. Like I don't mind, and I feel I've got confidence in myself that if a joke doesn't work, I can recover it. Like, So that
you got those bankers.
Yeah, and I can so I can bring it back. So I don't mind. I'll try it out. Doesn't work, we move on. It's not. People think it's the worst thing in the world, but once you get used to it, it doesn't really matter.
People ask me all the time, like, oh, how do you feel like when people don't laugh? And, oh, that's my idea of a nightmare and stuff. But once you get used to rejection, that's basically what it is. It's like just not caring so much.
100%.
It's very liberating.
Yeah.
But that also happens with age as well. I just feel like the comedy process accelerates that so much.
Yeah.
Like you age
a
lot.
Yes, you do. You do grow up and you realise, and also you think people are thinking so much about you. They're not. They're really thinking about themselves, and they. Like, sometimes I can't even remember the jokes I've said on stage when I get off. So I'll be damned if they remember when I failed. Do you know what I mean? So it's like... There's
that whole idea of it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's where the funny lies, right? Do you subscribe to that a little bit?
I think it's a bit of both. I think... Because there are a lot of people that have got more style than substance. But I think both of them... You can say something funny. Some people... I love things that make me think. Like I'm a heavy reader, so I like if someone says something smart and they make it funny. That's me. You've got me. Sometimes I see a lot of people that are funny that aren't really saying anything. That doesn't make me laugh. But I love when someone says something. I'm like, I never saw it that way before. You've changed the way I see things now.
What comedy inspirations have you got?
As in the comedians I like.
Yeah.
All right, the comedians I like are Dave Chappelle. Patrice O'Neill, who's passed away, and Louis C.K. and Damon Wayans. Yeah, those
they're
guys.
Clever.
Yeah, they're clever. They're clever, and they say, and they're physical. And you know what? And Richard Pryor, I like a performer. That's what I realized. I like people who, with their body, with their facial expressions, voices, tell me a story. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just going up there and saying, they tell me, they just incorporate everything and make a story I can actually picture.
You've got quite a few facial expressions going on when you're
on stage. I am trying. I'm like, yesterday when I was on stage, I was trying to do it a lot more and trying to, I know getting the punchline was maybe a look to the left or whatever, and people were like, okay, they get it. And it's just experiment. Just something at this stage, I'm just experiment as much as I can.
I love it.
Yeah,
and I've seen you kind of grow as well, like through the Cavendish Arms, because I was there for about a year and whatnot. And you were the headliner, you know.
Oh, stop it!
It was good, man. It was good. It was the local headliner.
It was. You know what? That's a room that was. That room was great because it was like a low stakes room. You could go up there, very supportive crowd, and you could try what you wanted, and there was no penalty for failure.
No.
Which is we go to some of these clubs, the bigger clubs, they tell you straight off the bat you want your best stuff. So now you feel the pressure of I better make this crowd laugh, where you don't. So that kind of stifles your growth. You don't get to grow there.
What was it like the first time you did one of those bigger rooms?
It was just nerves. It's pressure because you're like everything has to work and then that kind of makes not for a great show. Do you know what I mean? So it's like some of the best rooms I've done have been the low stakes room where I'm able to be myself and something comes out that I'm more in the room. Do you know what I mean? I'm more in the room and able to react. I'm not just reading off a script, which is what I do at the moment when I go to the big clubs. I'm just making sure all throughout the day I'm preparing, and then I just read back the scripts that I'm thinking.
That's why you need to support open mic comedy.
Yes.
Because you see the real.
Yeah,
growth.
You do, and you help, and you're helping because their audience are part of the process. We need an audience. We can't do comedy without an audience, you know, because we don't know what's funny. We think it's funny, and then the crowd is like, no, that's not funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they say, yeah, that's funny, and then we move and we grow and we grow.
And we need real people as well. Like a lot of open mic, sometimes it's mainly comedians that are in the audience because they're like sort of watching with their friends, and they're watching jokes very differently to someone who's just there trying to have fun with their partner or whatever.
100%. Sometimes the comedians aren't even listening to you; they're just thinking about themselves getting up on stage. I've
done it. Recited my own thing before I'm about to go up.
Yeah, exactly. You're just looking at your pad. Okay, got it. Oh, is it my go? Okay, and then, that's it.
Exactly. But, you know, we've got to go through a lot of that. Like, you know, got to put in the work and have those rooms. And then you get the real audience. You get something, I realise this, you get something out of any room, even if it's comedians. Because if you can get a little chuckle out of a comedian, that probably will get, I hear you.
Then you're going to get something in the normal room.
There've been some Sundays like that, like where you literally turn up, there's 10 people, they're all comics, and you're like, okay, everything I'm going to say is either just like written now, because there's no point in doing old stuff from that point, and if you get a chuckle, or even like polishing up my MC skills, sometimes I'll just chat to people and stuff.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, just talking, just having an because it is kind of, it's not normal, is it? Going in front of a group of strangers and telling them stories. So it is nice just
How did you feel after lockdown then? Because I had a moment where I hadn't done comedy for a while, and then I was like, I had the microphone in my hand. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What is this? There's 20 people looking. What is this? How
long did you take out of lockdown? How long?
It was the whole lockdown. A good 8 months I didn't touch the microphone.
Because it's very hazy for me, but I know it's opening up and closing. But whenever it was opening, I was able to get on stage because Ashley Gorman, shout out to Ash. Yeah, he opened up the gig down at Putney. Yeah. Was it Putney? Yeah.
He had a few locations.
Yeah, and we was able to get on stage. So I was able to get on. So it wasn't a massive gap as some people had, because I know some people, like you said, from the beginning of lockdown to the end didn't get on stage at all. Yeah. So it was all right for me. It wasn't so bad.
I had patches as well, and what I found was, because I had so much MC experience in the past, it was okay. Because if I forgot something, I could then chat to people. You're quite good at that as well.
Yeah, that is lovely. It gives you the confidence, like I said, to thingy, that if something doesn't work, then I'll bring the room back up. Just quick thinking.
Yeah, and like just connecting those little moments.
Yeah.
But there are some people that say, stand up is more of a performance and not to ask people questions and stuff. And I think I'm a bit more your style. I'm so like in love with getting to know people that like that's just like my natural. Oh, this is not going so well. Okay, let's get to know people and let's get people bonded in the audience and stuff. But I started opening a lot for the reason that I kept emceeing. Like people were like, "Oh, Steph's on the bill. She can open, or she can open the second half." I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting place to put me now, because I will chat to an audience if they're dead."
Yeah.
I'll like try and them to know each other. I just love that. I like it. Gets me really excited. But how do you chat to an audience without without putting them on the spot? That's what I want to know. Sometimes it can get awkward.
I just try and, it depends. Sometimes you get really good crowd members and they're up for it. Like there was a guy yesterday.
Wasn't it Archie? No, someone else.
No. This is another guy. There's a guy, and Andrea, and he was like, straight off the bat, he's like, "And my name's Andrea. I'm a male." Like so that right there, cool. That right there is
him pronouns.
Yeah, and then he came after the show in the interval. Come up to me, he's like, "This is my first comedy show. It's great, and I love it." And I was like now I started speaking to him, and he was with a group of 3 other people. 2 partners, so him and his missus and his friend and his miss, and they were great. So they were laughing at everything. You could talk to them. It's a very talkative show, but I think there has to be a balance, because with crowd work, it's kind of, once you've got the trick of it, like if we go to different rooms, we'll see all the tricks. We know what it is. You're asking the crowd questions and things like that. But with a comedian, I want to know what your opinion is. I want to know how you see the world. That's why I want to go and see a comedian. So you tell me honestly how you see the world. So it's like I like to MC for the comfortability and getting comfortable on stage. Yeah. But I really want to do is express my opinion and show people what I think of the world. I think that's the benefit.
I like that. And that comes out in your crowd work. And I think that's the difference between you and me. Why you're like, I'm good at crowd work, but it is just like my kind of, oh crap, I've forgotten stuff, the chat. I'm not actually expressing my opinion. Whereas when you do crowd work, you're assuming something about someone that's then reinforcing your message. For example, this Archie guy that went to private school, you're reinforcing that that's not your bag, but you're still silly about it.
Yeah. I do try and take what they give me, and then twist it into how I see it. Okay, so your name's Archibald, and your father, and you go to private school, and then I'll probably start talking about myself, the background I came from, and then the contrast. I like to say things that you don't hear in polite conversation. I like to say, because that's I think, like, things you're not going to see on TV, whatever. I just like this is live. A comedian, if I can make people laugh, because that's the beauty of it. You could actually say whatever you want to people if you can make them laugh. And that's what, if once you can make them laugh, then you can say what you want. And another thing that's what I want to use
It's fascinating to me that you can connect with someone who went to an all-girls school when you clearly didn't go to one yourself.
Yeah, because it's just based on, we're not too different. We just got these little on the surface, but we're all connected, and it's about just finding how I can connect to you. Yeah. And trying as much as possible.
And you use your sense of humour to do that.
Yeah, I do. That is my main way to connect with anybody. Is if once we find common ground, what we can laugh at. So I don't like people that don't find. Some people go to comedy shows and get offended, and I'm like, why would you? Like yesterday, Pete, shout out Pete, right in the army.
The whole crew. Yeah,
Pete said a joke, and someone didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I spoke to her after the show, and I tried to explain to her what he meant. And this was her response. She goes, "I don't care what he meant. It's what he said."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that makes no sense.
That's not the point of comedy.
Yeah, because you listen to what if he didn't mean to offend, if he like you've taken a stance like he tried to offend you, but he hasn't tried to offend you. I'm trying to explain to you what he meant in non-offensive terms, and you're like, I don't care what he meant, but that should be the most important thing. If we're in a comedy club and somebody says a joke you don't like, but we're all trying to have a fun and laugh together, that should be the main aim. It's laughter, really, isn't it? We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're just trying to laugh together.
And like part of the joke sometimes is even like when a really kind of aggressive comedian goes up and he's like, "Oh, this is my opinion," blah blah. Like sometimes the point of the joke is that we're laughing at someone who's an idiot for thinking that.
Yeah.
And now we're doing like a social commentary and it's like satire and all that good stuff. And if you're missing the point because you're just reading out exactly what he said word for word, then you've missed the entire the entire set. And
sometimes people if you watch people, they make fun of themselves as well. So if they're able to make fun of themselves, why can't we make fun of you or everybody? Like sometimes inclusive. Like, do you know what I mean? There's sometimes you got guys in the crowd who are in a wheelchair and they want to be included in the joke. They don't mind it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, people are, you can't make a joke about that. This guy, no, he's having fun as well. Yeah. He wants to be part of the party.
It's now connected and all that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But if someone goes up there and makes fun of themselves, then it's no problem making fun of you. He's doing it to himself. Do you know what I mean? I make fun of my children. They're the most precious things to me, and I make fun of them. So if I'm making fun of you, it's kind of like a sign of affection, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but it's true. Yeah. This is from the southwest of France. How does being from southwest London come out in your comedy?
Yeah, okay. Basically, it is basically southwest London. It's just a weird under.
Yeah, you went on a little tangent there, and I was it's not southwest anymore.
Right. So no. It basically is. But okay, for me from southwest London, how does it come out in my comedy? Yeah,
because it does.
It's just my upbringing. There is no. I've been exposed to a lot growing up. There is no real sacred ground to me. I'll make jokes about anything, and they're not malicious. I just want to see the fun in everything. Do you know what I mean? So if something bad's happened to me, like say, like I've been stabbed, and I make jokes about that. So there is nothing off limits. I believe it's how I grew up. My mum is a big fan of comedy, stand-up comedy, and I believe was my reward system as a child. I used to come in from guy. She mentioned it now. Come in from going out to play. I heard a new joke. I come tell her the joke. She'll be laughing. I run her back out to play. That's it. It's like that's just me growing up. So the things I've seen, and I've seen a lot. I've seen like a lot of different things to maybe the crowd that comes to the comedy shows. So I feel like it's my job to maybe show you a different side. It's interesting, isn't it? If you different side of life, like you growing up here on this side of the tracks, and I've grown up here. Let me explain to you in a funny way how different life can be.
Do you feel like since you started comedy, when bad things happen to you, it's the way you react to it is completely different?
I do think like I got into like a road rage incident, and it got quite bad. And I'm thinking afterwards, like that night, I was like, I'm going to use this on stage tomorrow. I'm going to use this on stage tomorrow. And you do kind of
it's
try
really
and turn.
Therapeutic in a way, comedy.
Yeah. You can turn. It's like turning lead into gold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got this bad thing. Yeah, and I'm gonna try and make something out of this.
Yeah, I mean that happened to me quite early on. Like I think it was a year in. My house got burgled. My parents' house got burgled, and my comedic brain just like went into overdrive. Like, what? They only took the British pound. They left the Polish money on the side. Wow, that's racist. Yeah. Right, let's go.
We got a racist burglar here. A racist. I don't care he burgled me.
There was more Polish money in the drawer, like in terms of actual value, than there was British. Wow. They just didn't know what they were looking at.
That's the beauty of it. Your racism, caused you ignorance, and you lost out. You could have had more money. You could have had more money. You fools.
And then like there was another bit, like my room was a real mess, and maybe you've heard this joke before, but then I realised quite quickly on that it wasn't much different to how I'd left it before I went out the night out.
That's funny. Oh my God, look what they've done to Steph's room. Have they trashed? Yes, they have. Look at them. They've put all my stuff on the floor. Oh my God.
And part of that joke is, it was even tidier than where I'd left it, because one of the burglars had hung my towel up to dry on the radiator. He hadn't, but I was like, he should have. It was on the floor.
At least you could have done for me.
Exactly.
After stealing my stuff.
So comedy, basically, the moral of the story is it fucks you up, and but in a really positive way. Like, we process things really, really differently.
Yeah, we do, and I think it's
I'm listening to you saying I got stabbed on stage, but I'm laughing. Like, in what other situation would you get that?
Do you know what? Some people, before I even say the punchline to the joke, they just, because it's tense. And it's like a release of tension. Like when you get the point, but sometimes people start laughing. Like, I've been stabbed, and they'll be like, they'll start laughing because it's just a funny statement. They've never been around anybody like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So sometimes they're laughing just at the thought. Wow, this guy's just saying this out loud on stage. Yeah, that's interesting, man.
It is interesting. You can see people like moving forward, like, oh shit, like, okay, this is cool. I actually have someone in front of me with that experience. What's he gonna say?
Yeah.
Last question to you. You mentioned something about like how the wine changes, or like how you want your comedy to change in the future. Wine changes in its bottle. This one is going to age very, very nicely. It's going to, not that you'll ever drink it in the future, but it's going to be leathery, like meaty, nice smoked flavours. How do you think your comedy is going to change in the next few years?
A lot more, hopefully a lot more truthful, a lot more vulnerable, a lot more opinionated. I just want to say what I think and feel, and then hopefully what I comes back at me will either reinforce that I'm right or will educate me and let me know maybe I'm not. But I don't want to be scared to say, because I feel like people are so scared to make mistakes nowadays. But mistakes is how we learn. So I want to say how I feel and then see the reaction. And people may say, no, that's not wrong, the way you're thinking, and explain it to me. Explain, because at the end of the day, I'm only human, and so I don't know everything. Yeah. So I want to say how I feel and then let the world shape the result.
It's beautiful. Oh. I've got a weird teary eye, but I think that's an actual tear. Just squeeze it out. Well, cheers to that. You are.
Cheers.
It's a nice sound. So that was Luke Craig on the Comedy Wine List podcast. Do follow us on Instagram at the Comedy Wine List. You can follow Luke on Insta at Luke King Craig. French Malbec was such a good wine to have, with both a really fun and jokey conversation, but also we were covering some meaty topics. And although Luke isn't a wine drinker, I had to pair him to a Malbec. Because there are very few bold red wines out there that could win so many people over. And Luke absolutely nails talking about serious topics in a really cheeky and likeable way. We get his opinion, his emotion, but also his fun side. Catch Luke at South Kensington Comedy Club in the future, and other clubs around London. If you love red wine, have a Malbec while you're at it, and thanks for listening. Cheers.